So let's move to third parties. I want to start with RFK, and then I want to talk to you about no labels. I am a firm believer. If you look at 2016 versus 2020, the difference between the two elections really comes down to third parties. You had two robust third parties in 2016. You didn't have it. I mean, the clearest example that I've shared over and over again ad nauseum, in 2016 in Michigan, Donald Trump won by 10,703 votes, 0.2 percentage of a point, points of a percentage, tenths of a percent. There were 50,000 plus votes for Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. In 2020, he lost Michigan by 2 points. There was 1,000 votes for the Green Party candidate. That to me is the most illustrative example of how impactful these third parties. And so I think there are sort of three that matter in this race. You've got Cornel West. Him not taking the Green Party line is going to be a big problem in terms of him actually having an impact. But then I think you have RFK and no labels. So let's take them one at a time. RFK, I believe, actually hurts Donald Trump. And I know that some people don't agree with that, but I just believe that the reason that he gets more media attention from Newsmax and Fox News and conservatives is because they love this sort of against the grain, anti-vaccine, but all of his other issues, and that's what people keep saying. Oh, so once that comes out that he's pro-green this and pro-abortion and anti-gun, but no one's talking about that. And I think that he's going to pull enough Trump voters away to potentially hurt Trump in the swing states.
I think you've described the dynamic perfectly. I also think it's meaningless because he's not going to get on the ballot anywhere.
Really?
Getting on the ballot takes millions of dollars, discipline, and attention to detail. RFK has raised a decent amount of money, but nowhere near enough to do this.
But what if it's just a handful of states? I mean,
okay. So if he decides what I'm going to do is get on the ballot in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, sure. But I've seen no indication from them that that's their plan. They say they're going to run a 50-state campaign. And what's the rationale for just focusing on the battleground states? Then you're just
there's
running.
No rationale. But I think that if he's not on the ballot, if he's not on the ballot in the swing states, then you're absolutely right. The key is if you run a 50-state campaign, but you're on the ballot, you can get 4,000 votes in Michigan, that's a big deal.
But he's not going to be on the ballot in Michigan. There's no indication he's going to be on the ballot anywhere. You can speculate about the impact if he's on the ballot, but I recommend, and this has been my mantra since he announced he wasn't going to take the line, I recommend you think about how he's going to get on the ballot. It is really hard to get on the ballot. The two major parties do not make it easy to get on the ballot. So if you think he's going to show the discipline at the level required to get on the ballot, I'd say look at his record so far. Look at this campaign. They've not been able to organize much of anything except a few rallies. This requires a signature gathering firm.
Yep.
It's hard to do with volunteers. So you tell me what signature gathering firm is going to work for him. A Republican firm? Not if he's going to hurt Donald Trump. A Democratic firm? Not the way he's run against Joe Biden. There aren't very many firms in the country that do this for a living. So if he tries to do it with volunteers, good luck to him, because they will not know how to gather the signatures, how to vet them to make sure people don't sign Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. I just don't see, unless he just decides I'm going to put all my organizational ability, all my resources into getting on ballot in the battleground states so that I will affect the outcome. I just don't see any indication that that's his goal or that's what he'll do. And even then, I don't know.
So how will we know? How will we? I mean, that's the key. I get it. I agree.
He will start having to submit petitions.
Put your finger on this. If he's not on the ballot, then who cares?
That's my view. I get asked all the time, look at this poll, this three-way poll. What does it tell you about who he'll impact? And I say, I don't care, because he's not going to be on the ballot. No one's going to be able to vote for him. Now, I may be proved wrong. His new campaign manager, who's his daughter-in-law, I believe, she may be an organizational genius, and she may figure out how to succeed in petitioning onto the ballot. But again, the parties don't want him on the ballot. They're going to challenge every signature. So even if a state requires 75,000 signatures, even if he gets 75,000 or 100,000, they'll challenge them. And chances are, given how short amount of time they have, how much money they have, how inept they are at organization, chances are they'll be kicked off the ballot in a lot of places.
And that's why I've been arguing that Cornel West not taking that Green Party line.
He's even less likely to get on the ballot.
Correct. That's my point, though.
But it's roughly the same with Kennedy. But I agree. But it's roughly the same with Kennedy. News organizations spending money to poll RFK and the general should spend it on an investigation into how he's going to get on the ballot. Because I'm telling you, it's not easy. The parties do not make it easy in any state.
I think that that's 100% correct. I get it. And that's the point. That's why I'm saying that when Cornel West forewent the Green Party line and said, I'm going to do it on my own, it was like, okay, this is stupid now, because you're for the exact same reason that you're saying. He's not going to be on anyone's ballot.
Best day for the Biden campaign in the entire cycle was when he said he was doing that, because he's done as a factor, but it's the same for RFK.
So let me just let's segue into the third thing, which is no labels. They're saying this new memo that they really want to focus on the swing states, and that they want to play the potential spoiler in the House. But let me ask you this: how hard is it going to be for them to get on the ballot?
Well, first of all, I think I did some work with them, I should say, so I know a fair amount about their operation. They're not that characterization of their plan was done by Democrats who are trying to stop them and accuse them of trying to help Trump.
Right, at third way.
Yeah, that's not what they're doing. They're going to get on the ballot everywhere. And the reason they're going to get on the ballot everywhere is because they started 2 years ago and they have $70 million and they've hired the best signature gathering firms in the country.
So here's my question. Why did they get signature ballot firms to work for them that won't work for, say, RFK?
Because they found a firm early on who agreed to do it. The one firm in the country that works with independents. Okay.
But so let's play this out for a second. I get it. Third way, this Democratic progressive group is trying to make the case that these guys are now in spoiler mode. Who does no label present a greater threat to then?
I think Trump, but it depends on who they put at the top of the ticket. Right. They're saying they're going to have a bipartisan ticket, one Democrat and one Republican. They're leaning, I think, towards having a Republican at the top of the ticket. And if it's the right Republican, they'll hurt Trump more. Yeah. But again, they're in it to win. They're not in it to spoil it. And they're not going to do it if they spoil it. If they see an opening, and the polls suggest there is an opening, 70% of the country don't want a Trump-Biden choice. So if they choose it, I think they'll draw from both sides. And maybe even the data suggests roughly equally. But if there's a Republican at the top of the ticket, which I expect there will be, I think they'll hurt Trump a little bit more. But make no mistake, they'll have a balanced ticket that's meant to draw from both sides as equally as possible, and I think they will. Yeah, but you and I both know that who's at the top of the ticket. That's why I said no one's voting for vice president. Well, they put this. You're right. You're right in general. This will be a little bit more. This will be a little bit different because again, it's going to self-consciously be a partnership between a Republican and a Democrat. Right. But the reason I say it'll likely hurt Trump at least a little bit more is because I do think they'll put a Republican at the top of the ticket. And as much as it will be a unique ticket in the partnership, that top of the ticket, as you said correctly, I have two things before we finish. Number one, can you give me, if you had a crystal ball, unless this is conflicting you, who would you, if you could tell them who would be the most effective Republican to put at the top of the ticket, who would it be? Well, I'd rather it be a younger person, but I think Mitch Daniels would be the most effective. You think Mitch Daniels would honestly do this? You didn't say if people would do it. You would say, who would I tell them to? Okay, run? Good point. Fine, fair enough. Okay, so of the people who would consider it, I really don't know. I really don't know who would consider it, but I think the former governor of Tennessee, Bill Haslam. I think Larry Hogan. I think they do quite well with the right Democratic partner. I think that Haslam would do too, but I can't imagine him ending his career like that. Let me just ask you one last question, and I've got 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds. How important should the Virginia elections be if we want to project what it means going forward? I think the only issue is if we can tell from exit polls how big a deal abortion is in some of these swing counties. Except for that, I think I don't see much national significance. Listen, that's significant. I agree. I wrote an op-ed in The Hill on this. These guys, every Democrat in the Commonwealth of Virginia is running an ad that says MAGA extremists are willing to take away your right. Anyway, Mark Halperin, I appreciate you being with us as always. Thank you. All right. The beauty of that conversation goes back to the whole point of this show. You heard what Mark said.